Hey guys, another one for the Keeper's Corner here. We're going to go ahead and cover some crafting basics in preparation for my crafting guide I'm going to be dropping out today. A couple things to note about crafting, the most important of which being void cores. Void cores are exceedingly rare. You can get them from regular farming. Typically, the higher level stage you farm, the better chance you're going to get for them to drop. So, I mean, if you're doing the final stage of the campaign, that's what, level 74 or something like that, you're going to have a better chance than running a level 40. But I have had them drop from the stage 4 boss, the stage 5 boss, the stage 6 boss. They're just not very common. That being said, there are a fair amount of void cores that you can pick up from first time completions in the campaign. You get 5 for beating the final boss on hard. There's another 5 or so scattered throughout the chapter 6 campaign on hard and extreme. So make sure you gather as many void cores as you can. Another source, of course, is the Mason's Isle. The final stage there will net you a free void core 2 or 3 times a week. And then whatever weekly tournament has crafting materials, whether it's the hero battles or guilds or whatever, if you can get the top 1% there, definitely go for it and get that other additional void core. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay $9.99 for 4, or you can go up into the shop here, and this is what I would definitely suggest, into the special packs. For 2,750 gems, you get 10, along with all these other resources that you're going to need. Celestial orbs and shards both end up being pretty rare for you as well after a while. If you're not spending any money on this game, something I covered in another one of my guides is you can get 2,700 gems a month for free just from watching ads. And if you're planning to play this game completely free to play, that is my best suggestion to you, is to save up those 2,700 gems a month and buy this Master Craftsman pack. That's going to give you the ability to craft the super rare and epic weapons you're going to need to compete with the people who are spending tons of money on their game. And it is possible to compete without spending any money. I know not everyone believes that. It takes a little more patience, but it is definitely possible. And when we go into our crafting screen here, we definitely want to make sure, as we're leveling up, that we start going down this one-handed hacking tree. The epic at the end here is available at, I want to say, level 37. And it's going to be one of your first low investment, big return crafting items. When you get into some of the other later epics, you're spending almost 400,000 gold and 7, 8, 9, 10 void cores. So at 150,000 gold and 3 void cores, this is going to be one of our best investments early on. But my suggestion to most everyone is going to be to go with this first super rare fist weapon as their first crafting goal. We're going to want to put it on the Shaman once we craft it. And as most people already know, the Shaman is one of the most powerful heroes in the game. His incredibly fast skill cycling, his attack modifiers, everything all adds up to make him quite a powerhouse. And this Fist of the Dark One is an absolute necessity for him. The reason we're going to want to go with this over the other super rare or epic options is the initiative bonus, the cooldown reduction, and the shadow element. And because we're going with the initiative and the cooldown on that, we're eventually going to want to pursue another item for him in the armor section, which would be the chain skin. But before we do that, the first armor we're going to want to chase after is probably going to be this super rare plate mail, the Shell of Protection. This is available at level 36. And just like the Ambusher's Hacker, isn't too extreme on the cost. It's going to cost you about 5 void cores, 140,000 gold. And this is going to get you deep into the campaign. Throwing this on your knight is going to let him tank through the end of the Mason's chapters. It's going to let you tank through the end of the Chapter 6 campaign. It's also really good on the Paladin, the Blackguard. It's a great early piece of armor before the Dreadplate and Strength of Legend that's going to boost your guys. And here's the chain skin we talked about for the Shaman. I would typically wait to do this maybe 4th or 5th, because it takes the 7 void cores, and we can get by pretty fine with just the mithril mail up here. As you see, it's very similar to the chain skin. The armor percentage is a lot lower. I know it doesn't show it on my device here, unfortunately. But it still has the cooldown reduction, which is the most important part. It does have 8% magic resistance, which can be pretty helpful. But we're going to go back to the Ambusher's Hacker here as probably our third item we're going to want to craft in terms of progression. The damage on it is not quite as high as some of the other epic weapons. It doesn't have an element. At level 40 to 47 or so, the damage is between like 75 and 100, compared to the Rod of Ruin or the Vorpal Sword that start out over 100 at those same level ranges. But again, the crafting cost is a lot cheaper, the level requirement is a lot lower, and the return for crafting this is a lot higher than some of those other weapons. The Vorpal Sword, for example, your Kensai and Ninja and those guys are going to perform pretty well with just a katana. But for the Barbarian and the Thief particularly, this Ambusher's Hacker is going to boost them into being some of your big powerhouse heroes for a while. I strongly suggest crafting at least one, if not two of these, so that you can have one on your Barbarian. And the other thing with this is the cooldown reduction is great for the Cleric. It also makes our Righteous Call hit for a little bit more if you're using that in towers or PvE or anything like that. And after the Ambusher's Hacker, we're going to want to start saving up our gold for our first big investment, which is going to be the Rod of Ruin. The Rod of Ruin's the first double element weapon we're going to run into. It also, like I said, is going to usually craft at over 100 damage right off the bat. But the biggest thing here is the double element. Double element weapons are probably the best weapons in the game right now because they add a huge damage factor on like damage over time and area of effect spells. With the Archmage specifically, his Poison Cloud and Meteor Swarm are going to hit 3 or 4 times harder for you once you get this Rod of Ruin, and it's really going to help you through towers and PvE, defending your tower. All kinds of things are going to become much, much easier for you once you get this Rod of Ruin. And then our second big investment here is going to be for our Blackguard. That would be the Dark Defender. Fortunately, this is another low-cost item. 3 Void Cores, 140,000. Some people might even say to craft this before the Rod of Ruin because the crafting cost is lower. And it doesn't quite have the offensive output that the Bloodletter or the Forbidden Blade do. But we see here it's got 135 defense at level 45. It's got 4% dodge and 3% armor. I know 4% dodge doesn't seem like much, but you're going to see a lot more dodges on your Blackguard once you put this on him. And when we go back to the armor section here, that's going to bring us to our next big target, and that's going to be either the Dreadplate, which is a pretty significant investment at 9 Void Cores and 220,000, or the Strength of Legend, and they're available at 42 and 43, as you can see here. Both of those combined with the Dark Defender are going to make your Blackguard into a real tank. You know, I know he doesn't have a taunt, but he does have that self-heal, and he's going to be able to put out more damage than any of your other tank heroes. And otherwise, we're going to have a few filler items here and there. Vicious Vestments is a really cheap cloth that you can throw onto your Kensai, your Archmage, things like that while you're waiting on your Epic. The Vest of the Flare here is another one that I really like for the Barbarian. It can be good on the Thief, the Amazon, the Archer, the Ranger. It's not too steep of an investment, and the crit chance and crit damage are meager, but the reduction to enemy dodge and the poison resistance are both very good on this item. So it's definitely one worth keeping in mind. And our other damage leather here, as we can see, is not that great. It is super cheap. So if you don't want to go with the Flare Vest, at least make a few of these for your leather wares that are DPS heroes. As for like the Raiment of Radiance and this one, the Guise of Mineus, I've never crafted these. I don't think they're worth the investment. I would definitely wait for the Epic Cloth here. It's got a much better survivability setup with the magic resistance and the higher armor rating and whatnot. As for machines, I personally wouldn't craft any machines. I know you guys see a lot of people out there with these bombards. As you can see, 200,000 gold and 10 void cores is enough for us to craft 2 epics in some instances. So we're a lot better helping ourselves out on offense before we go focusing on things like this. And there are a lot of great monsters that can be captured in the PvE campaign. So in terms of defending our tower, we're not going to want to focus on that too much until later. And a lot of what we need, we're going to be able to get for free. So I definitely wouldn't go wasting any resources on those machines. And the rest I'll cover in the guide. Hopefully that'll be coming out today. And other than that, I think we're all set here, so you guys take care.